You sit down to start. The idea is clear. The time is available. And yet, you don't move. You open another tab. You rearrange your desk. You tell yourself you'll begin in 5 minutes. It doesn't feel like laziness. It feels heavier than that, like one wrong step could ruin everything. And somewhere, in your mind, a quiet question keeps looping. What if starting is the mistake? Problem deep dive. This pattern hides in ordinary moments. You spend hours researching instead of beginning. You create perfect plans you never follow. You wait for a clear sign that now is the right time. From the outside, it looks like procrastination, but inside, it feels like caution. Your self-talk becomes harsh. I'm wasting time. Why can't I just do it? And slowly, this starts shaping identity. You stop saying, I haven't started yet. You start saying, I'm just lazy. That label changes decisions. You avoid challenges because failure would confirm it. You hide unfinished projects from others. Even relationships feel affected because people assume you don't care, when really, you care too much. Psychologically, this often connects to perfectionistic tendencies and high-threat sensitivity. Your brain treats beginnings like irreversible commitments. Starting feels dangerous, not because the task is hard, but because the outcome feels tied to who you are. And if that's true, why does the brain turn a simple first step into something so heavy? Reframe. Here's what matters. You are not broken. This pattern is not a character flaw. It is an adaptation. At some point, your brain learned that mistakes were costly. Maybe criticism came early. Maybe success felt like pressure to maintain perfection. Maybe choosing wrong once led to embarrassment you still remember. So your mind built a protective system. If you delay starting, you avoid proving yourself wrong. If you never begin, the possibility of success stays alive, untouched. In a strange way, avoidance protects hope. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to protect your identity from uncertainty. And that changes everything. Because if this is protection, then what exactly is the brain protecting you from? Psychological mechanism. Think of your brain as a prediction machine. Its primary job is not happiness, it's safety. When you start something new, the future becomes uncertain. Uncertainty activates threat circuits, particularly areas linked to error detection and risk evaluation. The brain asks, what if this fails? What if this proves something negative about me? Here's the metaphor. Imagine standing at the edge of a foggy bridge. You know the other side exists, but you can't see the first few steps clearly. Your nervous system interprets fog as danger, even if the bridge is stable. So instead of walking, you wait for perfect visibility. But perfect visibility never arrives. A simple mental model helps here. The identity alarm. When a task feels connected to your worth, the alarm activates. The stronger your identity investment, the louder the alarm. Result? You over-prepare. You delay action. You call it laziness, but the real mechanism is avoidance of identity threat. The brain prefers familiar discomfort over uncertain possibility. And that explains something important, why planning feels safe, but doing feels scary. Planning keeps the identity untouched. Action exposes it. So how do you move forward without triggering that alarm? Not by forcing motivation, but by changing what the brain thinks starting means. Practical framework. Step 1. Shrink the first move. What to do? Define the smallest possible action, something that feels almost pointless. Why it works? Small actions reduce perceived threat, lowering activation in fear-based prediction systems. Real-life example? Instead of write the chapter, open the document and type one imperfect sentence. You're not trying to finish. You're teaching your brain that starting is safe. Step 2. Separate action from identity. What to do? Deliberately frame the task as an experiment, not a verdict. Why it works? Psychological distancing reduces emotional stakes and decreases defensive avoidance. Example, tell yourself, this is version 0, not this shows who I am. When identity is removed, the alarm quiets. Step 3. Use time boundaries, not outcome goals. What to do? Commit to working for a fixed time instead of achieving a result. Example, I'll work for 15 minutes instead of I must finish this today. You shift focus from performance to participation. Step 4. Make imperfection visible early. What to do? Intentionally create a rough first attempt. Why it works? Exposure reduces fear sensitivity over time, a principle used in behavioral psychology. Example, record a messy draft, sketch a bad outline, send a rough idea to a trusted friend. Your nervous system learns that imperfect action doesn't equal danger. Step 5. Close the loop daily. What to do? End each session with a tiny note about what comes next. Why it works? The brain dislikes unfinished uncertainty. Clear next steps reduce avoidance when returning. Example, leave a sentence like, tomorrow, expand this idea. You lower startup friction for your future self. Integration. All of this fits into one simple mental model. Starting is not a decision about your worth. It is a signal to your nervous system. Each small beginning tells your brain, this is safe. Over time, the foggy bridge becomes familiar. The first step no longer feels irreversible. You stop waiting for certainty. You build trust through repetition. And slowly, something changes. The question shifts from, what if I start wrong, to, what if starting wrong is how I learn to move? Quiet, empowering close. Maybe you were never lazy. Maybe you were just trying to protect yourself from a mistake that felt bigger than it really was. Your brain chose safety because it didn't know another option. Now you do. You don't need perfect confidence. You don't need perfect clarity. You just need a beginning small enough that fear doesn't recognize it as a threat. And one day you'll look back and realize the hardest part was never the work itself. It was believing that starting wrong was worse than not starting at all.